And I can't tell you just how important that insight was in my career. I found myself trying to practice the art of the impossible. I found myself meeting entrepreneurs who were saying, you know what, I want to revolutionize this, and I want to revolutionize that. I want to turn this industry upside down. The first category would be Dolitchi. You know, we're going to be able to clone. The second category would be Tim Waterstone saying, you know what, these little bookshops open for a few hours a day and closed on Sundays make no sense. You want warehouse-like retail outlets where all of the books are on the shelf and they're open 7 days a week. You know, those types of things, those types of investment opportunities were the ones that we picked out, and we made some mistakes along the way, the ones that we picked out. And I think the second insight that I would like to share with you is that whatever your vision for the business is likely to condition the size of your business. So if you start out with the vision of wanting to become the largest retailer in the UK, you're much more likely to achieve it than if you start out saying, I want to start making money out of being a bookseller. And the reason isn't as obvious as it may seem. You know, a business grows to your vision. Why does it grow to your vision? It grows to your vision because if you're building something which has to support a huge edifice, then you put foundations that are different than if you're building something that needs to support only a small edifice. For instance, you begin to recruit a completely different type of executive or partner, in my case, in a professional firm. You begin to recruit people who are capable of leading a major business rather than people who are capable of running a small business. And that ends up conditioning your ability to stay ahead of your competition. If you've got the best people, you'll spot the opportunities earlier, you'll take advantage of them sooner than your competitors. So you might say, well, how did that apply to my case? How would it apply today? Well, in my case, I thought that we should become the leading international private equity firm. So I was the first to start off with operations in several countries. Actually, there might have been 2 or 3 others. Advent started off in the United States and expanded pretty quickly afterwards. But we started with operations in the United States, in France, and in the UK on day one. I built up offices ahead of my competitors. I went into industry specialization ahead of my competitors. I realized in the early 80s that once the first wave of software and hardware had come and gone, you really needed to be an expert in order to know what you were going to do in the computer area, or in the telecommunications area, or in medical devices, or in biotechnology, or in media. And so I kept investing ahead of my competitors, and my partners were able to carry the load of running an organization that was investing in several fields instead of just one, through many different offices in different countries instead of just one. So the second insight has to do with the fact that your vision will constrain the size of your business. The third is that businesses fail always for the same reason. What is that? They run out of money. The one thing every business that I've been involved with that has failed had in common, it ran out of money. Could have had a better product, could have had a better management team, they ran out of money. And you realize that in taking advantage of uncertainty, you have to have an X-ray vision of your business that gets right down to the financial structure of your business. And you need to understand exactly what cash flows are being generated and are being absorbed by your business, so that you don't find yourself in a situation where you run out of money at a time when you might have been superbly successful. And I describe it in the book as the length of the runway. You don't want to find yourself accelerating down the runway before you take off, and then find that you're running out of fuel, and you crash into the barriers at the end of the runway. And if you look at some of the great entrepreneurs that I've been lucky enough to back, they've been able to do more than just look at their product or their service and do that well. They've been able to control the financial dimension of the business. And those who failed were unable to do that. And I'll give you just two spectacular examples, one of each. Autonomy, Mike Lynch, son of a railwayman, who came to see us when he built up a business which subsequently changed its name to Autonomy, which is today a $4 billion business. Came to see us, he had a business doing $1 million and a bit of sales, recognizing number plates, selling that service to the police. And we asked Mike, well, how did you start? And he said, well, I was in a pub, and I asked the bloke drinking next to me whether he'd help me, and he lent me £2,000. Now, developed this business. I've got an offer to sell out to Rayco, for those of you who remember Rayco, which is now turned into Vodafone, and I'm hesitating about accepting it. And we said to Mike, your technology is amazing. It's got huge application outside of what you're doing. Subsequently, he applied it to recognizing patterns in language that enable you to sift through massive information, written information, and answer a simple English language question. Within BP, what issues have we found with shale exploration in Indonesia? And it'll sift through all of the documents in BP and come back with the answer. Well, Mike Lynch is a guy that we backed with $2.5 million, and we took out $750 million. Now, the guy didn't disappear after that. It wasn't a fly-by-night. He still runs a $4 billion quoted company. And why is he still there when others like Dolly the sheep, who were the first in the area of cloning, why is he there? Because he understood his business and the financial structure of his business. He knew how to stay alive long enough for his product to get to the market, and so that he could exploit it. And the management team at PPL didn't. It didn't. And that brings me to another very important insight, and that is the role of ego, intellect, and intuition. The reason the guys at PPL didn't get it was partly ego. And I say in the book, ego is a turbocharger. Every entrepreneur has ego, indomitable egos, which their spouses usually complain about. And you can't really be a successful entrepreneur without it. But it's a turbocharger. It shouldn't be a navigation system. When your ego begins to dictate what your next move should be, whether you should continue to plow more money into research instead of being able to generate a source of revenue, then you get into trouble. And the difference between a Mike Lynch and I won't mention the name of the person at PPL, was ego. And we've got plenty of examples up and down every country of people who failed because they were unable at the end of the day to separate themselves from the drivers of their ego to do certain things. And it can reflect itself by an acquisition too far, it can reflect itself by a product too far, or it can reflect itself by a brand new direction whose objective isn't so much a business objective, but in some way or other a way of gratifying yourself.